Hey guys, welcome to the podcast today. And I am recording another solo episode. And I feel like I'm going to title it What I'd Do If I Were Starting Over in 2026. So, most of you guys know I am 10 years in. I started my business 10 years ago. I started it by jumping in the deep end and figuring out how to swim once I was there. But I've learned a lot in 10 years. I can look back with hindsight being what it is, 2020, and say, wow, if I had to start over today, what would I do differently? And so, not that I'm different, I would still have the same experiences, the same kind of lean towards luxury, the same work ethic. But if it was 2026 and I was starting from zero, from square one, what would I do? And I actually did start from scratch once, and some of what I did worked. A lot of it I would do differently now. And that is the beauty, I think, of a podcast like this and of people who have had more experience or different experiences than you, is learning and hearing from them and getting a sense of the mistakes that they might have made or the ways in which they made it harder than they needed to. Because if you are a few steps behind, you can be like, great, lesson learned from you. I don't have to make that same mistake, or I could do things differently and save myself some of the uphill battle, if you will. So whether you're brand new or you've been doing this for years, I think there's going to be something in this episode here for you. Some of the stuff I wish I had revisited earlier. And so if that kind of knocks on your door, then take note. And some of it is stuff that I would do right from the start and right at the beginning. So let's dive in and let me know what resonates or what feels helpful as I discuss the moves I'd make if I was starting over and building my travel agency in 2026. So move number one, I join a host agency, but I'd be really picky. Now, this is hard, right? Because when I was brand new and looking to kind of get my foot in the door, I learned what a host agency was, and then I figured out like, oh shoot, I guess I need one. And so here we are, 2026, and I work pretty independently outside of a host agency because I built my business and I built my business model without finding the value and the support that made sense for me to continue operating under the host agency model. However, if I was brand new, I now know the benefits that a great host agency can bring and the learning curve that they help you shorten. But I think the thing to kind of keep in mind is while that learning curve without support is brutal, and it really can be hard to get your foot in the door with suppliers, build credibility from scratch, and it's very just hard to know what you don't know. If you find the wrong host agency, that actually isn't much help. You're just you're getting some support, some kind of, credibility, but it could be the wrong fit. So if I was starting over, I'd find a host, not just any host, but I'd be looking for one that genuinely understands that I'm looking to build and essentially own my own business. And I feel like 10 years of just kind of looking at the industry and understanding what's out there, that's rarer than it sounds. I think that a lot of host agencies are treating ICs like employees without the benefits of being an employee, right? So it's kind of the worst of both worlds, which is why I kind of went a different way. But if I was starting over, I would look for real mentorship, supplier access that I know I couldn't build alone in the first couple of years of my business, and leadership that supports autonomy instead of limiting it. I truly believe that the way you ultimately find success and scale your business has a lot to do with the brand that you build and the way that you build your business. And you need somebody to support that fully and understand the autonomy that exists when you are essentially a business owner, which I believe you are. And so that is a crucial, fundamental, foundational part, I think, of starting off on the right foot, and also just really having that support that helps you learn what you don't know, answer questions, not just about commission splits and stuff like that. There's so much more value that a host agency can bring if you align yourself with the right one. So if you are new, take that in mind. If you are more experienced, I would just say, you could be pondering right now, wondering, hey, have I outgrown the host agency that I'm currently at? Or did I pick the wrong one and they just really don't fit the business model that I'm using? This is worth revisiting at any time in your business. You are not locked in to a relationship with your host agency for eternity. And so ask yourself these questions. It might, cause a little bit of a ripple, but at the end of the day, you're thinking of the health and longevity of your own business, and that is what matters most. So the right partnership changes what's possible at any stage in business. And this is such a crucial piece, especially when you're new. The second move I would make is I would get honest about your network before you spend $1 on marketing. So before you do anything else, sit down and ask yourself, do the people I actually know match the clients I want to serve? So when I started, I had a network, right? People knew who I was. I had a social media presence to a degree, but was it a luxury travel network? No, not even really a little bit. Like, no, absolutely no, if I'm being honest. So that gap that I saw and I knew back then, and perhaps that you are seeing in your own business, that's information. It tells you exactly where you need to focus. Now, in order for this clarity to come, you actually need to know who you are trying to sell travel to. And you also need to take a real inventory of the people you know, where you're surrounded, in your neighborhood, in the things that you were involved with, in the family that you come from, all of the things that matter, who could potentially be your clients that you already have access to, and what kind of travel are you looking to sell? Where's the gap? The fact that there is a gap is not necessarily like a bad thing, but you have to kind of understand where the work is going to go. So yes, social media, digital marketing, those are all real and they're important to a degree. But the fastest path, I think, to especially a luxury client is still going to be proximity. And so you need to be in the right rooms and you need to be known by the right people. Now, this doesn't only apply to luxury travel, but it certainly does if luxury is the level of travel that you're trying to sell. So when you are kind of making this, figuring this out, where does the gap exist? Who do I know? Who do I need to know? What rooms do I need to be in? Then you need to start thinking about what is on you to get in front of the people that you need to get in front of. This needs to happen at the beginning. And so you're thinking about this. What do you need to do on a daily basis? What do you need to do on a weekly basis, monthly, quarterly, etc.? They all require kind of a different approach. And so it's not just like you do the one thing, the one time. Some of these are long play games, and some of these are things you just need to be doing consistently, but you need to have a plan. So maybe daily you're committed to showing up online consistently in a way that signals who you serve, right? So that is your social media presence or, what have you. And maybe weekly, it's one real outreach or follow-up with someone in your target world. So not a pitch, but a building of relationships that is going to be a helpful part of how you grow your business. On the podcast, we had such a fantastic episode a few months ago in regards to networking and in-person networking specifically. And I just thought it was such a good perspective on what is necessary to build the book of business that we ultimately want. Monthly, maybe your goal is putting yourself somewhere your ideal client actually is. That could be an event, that could be a dinner, that could be in a community thing, but you're committing on a monthly basis to do this because you understand that gap that exists is your job to close, right? And then quarterly, you're auditing all of your efforts. Are the rooms I'm in the right ones? Am I having conversations with people who I would actually love to work with? Am I getting people to understand who I am, what I do, who I serve, all of those things? And so when you audit, then you have the ability to change, to shift, to pivot if you need to. But if you are not doing these things, you have no information to go off of. And then you are literally just throwing spaghetti at the wall or shouting into a void or thinking that if you build it, they will come. And that is not how books of business are usually built, right? So if you're an experienced advisor, when did you last audit where your clients actually come from? Is this something that you do on a consistent basis? And are you doing anything with the information that you are uncovering? So most advisors that I work with can't really answer that. It's just kind of like they're on autopilot. They're hoping for referrals and repeat business and people to find them, but they are not doing anything proactively to make that happen. So I think the audit is an exercise that tells you where to focus and where you've been wasting energy potentially. All right. The third move I would make is I would be intentional about how I'm spending my time, especially before I have clients. I think this is a thing that nobody talks about honestly. When you're new, you don't have a full book of business. You're not working on client trips from morning till night. It's just not the thing that you're doing. And so what are you actually doing with your time? Now, this is going to be a different kind of scenario for a lot of different advisors that are newer in their career, because maybe you have another job that you're working full time and you're trying to kind of like fit this in on the weekends and at nights, or what have you. But once you are consistently putting in time into this business, I guarantee you, at the beginning, you don't have enough client work on a day-to-day basis to take up your time from the time you start to the time you finish. And so what are you doing with that time? And the time you have right now before you're busy with client work that doesn't stop this is the most valuable resource that you have. And it's the only thing that you're not going to have later. So don't waste it. Don't just kind of sit there twiddling your thumbs, or the equivalent, right? Being busy but not productive. So I think the temptation can be to fill your days with things that feel productive, but they don't move the needle. And completing every supplier certification available, doing FAMs, as much as you can, before you've even sent clients anywhere, consuming information, what have you, instead of building. So I want to kind of just have that awareness that if I was starting over, I would be very intentional with how I was spending my time in a way that was truly building the thing that I wanted to build. When I look back and when I kind of just think through the first couple of years of my business, and this actually becomes a lot clearer when you do have like a steady book of business and you are busy today, you're like, what was I spending my time on before this? Like, I literally have twice as much work, 3 times as much work. And yet I would get up, open my computer and do something, all day. But now if I was going back, here's how maybe I would structure the time to make sure that it was valuable time being spent building my business. So supplier education and relationship building. Yes, this is still important, but I want to make sure that we're talking about it being done in a focused way. So you want to learn the products and the destinations that serve the niche that you want to sell, not everything that's available. Over time, this will become clear. So if you're new and you're still kind of very, very much figuring out, what do I want my niche to be? Where do I want to send clients? What level of types of trips am I trying to sell, right? Learn that. And as you become more clear in that, the time you give, what you give your time to should also become narrower. There's so much information out there to learn, but not all of it serves you. You're going to consume things that just literally will never make a difference in the type of travel you're trying to sell. Business development is crucial. It's key. It is a integral part of being successful in business is to develop your business acumen. And so this has to be put on the calendar, I would say, every single week, non-negotiable. This is the reach outs that you do, the following up, being in the rooms, building the pipeline. It is not about the destination itself. It's about building your business. The other thing that I think is a good use of your time, and what I would definitely have spent even more time on in year 1 or the first couple of years of my business, is building out my systems and my workflows. Use the slow time that is inevitable to get this right before you actually need it. Most of the time, people, including myself, is once you're busy, once you're overwhelmed, once there seems to be balls being dropped, then you're like, oh my goodness, this needs to be systematized. I need a workflow. I need something that I am doing the same over and over and over again so I don't forget tasks. But do it while it's slow and while you have the time. You will thank yourself later. The other thing is content and visibility. So showing up consistently, online, so that when someone is in your network is ready, they think of you. You are top of mind. The thing that people say that is kind of like a catch-22, once you're busy, once you have clients, it's like, I don't have time to do my marketing. I don't have time to show up on social media. I don't have time to write my blog, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Get in, number one, the habit of doing that from day one. And also because it is so important before you have that brand awareness and that kind of, visibility and reputation for doing what you do, you need to build it. And the only way you're going to build it is through consistency. It's not a do it once and you're good. It is something you do over and over and over. And the more you do it, the stronger it becomes, the more you find your voice and point of view and how you communicate the value that you bring. And so content and visibility is a huge thing, something I would focus on right at the beginning. I think the advisors who treat the slow start as a waiting period fall behind. And so the ones who treat it as build time come out of year one or the first couple of years with something real and already ahead of the game. If you are an experienced advisor, how you spend your time is still the question. It just might look a little different. So if you're busy but not growing, audit your calendar. Where are you spending your time? Is it where you should be? Busy and productive are not the same thing, and so we don't want to confuse the two. Okay, the fourth move I would make if I was starting my business today in 2026 is I would pick a niche before I was ready. Now, I know because I speak to new advisors all the time. It feels risky to narrow down when you don't have clients yet, and so I get it. But I have seen this enough times to say clearly, the niche is not what limits you. The lack of one is. And if that seems counterintuitive, I get it, but it is true. And so trust me. In 2026, I would steer towards the lane of luxury. I don't do ultra luxury, but I do a certain level of luxury, and I would speak to that, build towards that, find clients that align with that from day one. Not because I had the portfolio to back it up or the book of business or the relationships personally to back it up. I didn't. But because the positioning does shape everything. It shapes who you attract. It shapes which suppliers you prioritize. It shapes what you create, what skills you build. And it doesn't have to do with luxury. It has to do with all types of travel. But it shapes the things that the foundation of your business. And so you can grow into a niche. You cannot grow into clarity if you never commit to one. So I am asking you, or at least asking you to ask yourself, is to commit to something and build towards that. And the thing is, if you get to a point in your business where it no longer feels aligned, where it no longer feels like you enjoy what you're doing, the types of trips you're working on, the type of clients you're working on, you're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to switch. You're allowed to grow. But it will be a much stronger business committing to something and building towards that than waiting for it to come to you and fall into your lap and to kind of do it backwards. If you're an experienced advisor and you've been doing this a while and still feel like you're marketing to everyone, you're talking about all types of trips, all types of travelers, all types of whatever, it's not too late to get specific. And it could be easier to reposition when you already have the proof of what you do well. So what do you do well? What are the favorite trips of yours that you love to work on? What are the clients that appreciate you the most? The proof is usually in the pudding. All right, the fifth move I'd make if I was starting over today in 2026 is investing in my business like it's a real business, because it is. Here is the mindset piece that I think trips up a lot of new advisors. Because revenue isn't coming in yet, every expense feels optional, right? And I think that that's backwards. Every legitimate business has startup costs. Travel is not different. It's not special. You're not special. If you are starting a business, then it is going to cost you something. And so if you're running this on a hobby budget, you're going to build a hobby. And I'm okay if that's what you want, but if you're telling me and you're telling yourself that this is not a hobby, this is something you truly want to build and grow as a legitimate career and something that you're doing, that you cannot run it on a hobby budget. And it is going to cost you. And I am not just talking about time. I'm talking about actual cash that you invest in yourself and in your business because you believe in it and you believe in yourself. I also think that there's a credibility signal here. You're to suppliers, to clients, and honestly, to yourself. You are saying when you invest in your business, you're telling yourself this is real. That matters more than most people are willing to admit. And so what's worth investing in early? This might be different for all of us, but I would give you some things to consider if you are wondering what might, the types of things that might cost you money before you're actually making money. The right host or consortia or whatever, that is foundational. And what I mean by that is there are some really fantastic host agencies that I know of that I've talked with that have new advisor kind of like programs, right? That cost money, legitimate. This is an investment. However, if it is worth it, then I think that is 100% a good thing to spend money on. Now, you're spending thousands of dollars and you haven't made a buck. That is what it is. And what needs to be planned for or saved up for it before that happens is on you. But it is something definitely that you need to consider. A CRM or some sort of business management platform that actually fits how you work is something you need to invest in early. This should not just be your inbox and a scratched piece of paper on the side of your desk trying to figure out all the things and where everything goes. Look professional, be professional, invest in professional tools that you are going to need. Branding, professional branding. I think this signals the market you're going after. If you do want luxury clients, then the things that they touch and the things that they see needs to look the part, right? This can't be your design skills on Canva coming into play when you are really trying to attract a certain type of clientele. It's going to be a mismatch and it will fall short. Your own education, and I would put coaching in this bucket. The learning curve is real. And so shortcutting it costs you more in the long run than investing appropriately and in the right places at the beginning. There are so many things, if I had to go back, that I would say, yeah, if I could have a mentor, if I could have a coach, if I could invest in things that now are easy for me to invest in, right? I was part of a mastermind last year that I invested a lot of money in, and it was easy to do because I had the money. But if I think back on where would I be early on in my career if I had made a scary investment, right? But what would the payoff have been? So there's things that can wait, right? Certifications before you have clients to serve might not be necessary. A whole bunch of marketing spend and running ads and doing all the things before you even know who you're marketing to, probably not the best idea. Investing in every FAM that you get invited on, because FAMs are never free. Just FYI, even if the cost is minimal, there's so much cost invested to it. You have to be mindful of that. But spend money to be taken seriously, just spend it in the right places. That is my advice to you and the advice I would give myself if I was starting over today. So if you are an experienced advisor, this might show up differently if you're later on in your career. And the question becomes whether you're reinvesting in your business at the level it deserves. So coaching, like I mentioned, better systems, elevated branding, or maybe you just stopped because the revenue started coming in, you started getting clients, and you didn't think it was necessary. I am a firm believer that we should always be reinvesting into our business and up-leveling what we do, what we know, how we operate, all the things. And so I'm constantly looking for ways on how, like I literally have a savings bucket that is for business development and the things that I want to reinvest in within my business to make me stronger and make the business and the brand stronger. And I encourage you to do the same. All right, the next move I would make is I would build my systems before I need them. And 10 years ago, right? Because I'm talking about what would I do differently. 10 years ago, I'm going to tell you the options were limited. There were not the tools and the platforms and the shiny object syndrome that we have now. And that can be a real threat. There's so many things out there. All the itinerary builders, all the CRMs, all of the commission chasers, all of the things that is a real win for our industry and a real move in the right direction. But 10 years ago, I was building in a Word doc when I wanted something to look pretty, and it was taking me forever. And so we can spend a lot of time and money chasing the next thing, thinking it's going to fix a problem that isn't actually a tool problem. What I would do if I was me starting my business today is identify what I actually need to run a clean operation, set it up, and build my workflows into it from the start. I'm a believer that a defined process creates a defined client experience, and a defined client experience is what scales your business. When you build your systems around 5 clients, when you add 15, it's not going to break you, right? This is what you need to understand before you get overwhelmed, when things feel out of control, when you have more work than you know how to kind of manage. These are the things you're going to wish were already in place. So the advisors who skip this spend years trying to retrofit systems into a business that's already running, that becomes the hard way. And so if I'm talking to you and you are in that space, I'm just going to offer up one of the things that I wish I would have done 10 years ago if I would have even had, the tools that are available now, because we got some great tools. They're getting better, they're growing, but like what we have now is so much better. If you are an experienced advisor and you built your business and added systems as an afterthought, you know how painful that is because you're feeling it right now. And so it's fixable. It costs more to retrofit than to build it right the first time though. So that's my advice to younger advisors or newer advisors. But if you are experienced and you're already feeling that tension, fix it. Fix it now. It's not going to get easier. And you're also not going to have that like break of nothing else to do and nothing else going on where it's just like, oh, now is the time. Like it's never going to feel like the best time. So fix it now because it will always remain that kind of tension point that you wish was fixed. My 7th move, if I would start my business now, is using AI as infrastructure from day one. Again, this is not something I had available to me 10 years ago. It's not even something I had available to me 2 years ago. But understanding what I do now about AI, if I was starting my business today, I know that AI would be a part of it from day one. So just because this didn't exist when I started, I know, and it exists now. So I think about how different year one would have looked if we would have had the tools that we have available to us now. So the advisors starting now have access to tools like this that can handle an enormous amount of operational weight, helping you with proposals, client communication, research, itinerary structure, et cetera, while you're still figuring out everything else and you're just building your book of business and you're finding clients. It is like you have assistants working in your business and streamlining and making things more effective and efficient from day one. That's amazing. That is such a blessing. So I think the mistake here that I want to just kind of name is that you can treat it like a shortcut or a gimmick. And it's neither. It should be neither. Within your business, it should be infrastructure. So set it up well, understand it, understand how it should help you and how it does help you, and give you capacity for things that gives you back your capacity for things that actually require you. Your relationships, your judgment calls, your expertise. That is where your time and energy is going because that is where it is needed most. Don't wait until you're busy to figure this piece out, right? I have done multiple podcast episodes at this point about my use of AI in business. You guys know that I am a very, very big believer and a proponent for how it can make you more effective and more efficient while still understanding where the nuance, the judgment, the all of the expertise that I bring is still needed. So if you're an experienced advisor and you haven't integrated AI into your workflow yet, you're not so far behind, you can't recover. But I think, hey, wake up, pay attention, understand where the world is going because it is going a direction that we're not going to stop. The gap is just growing and I want all of us to understand how it fits into our business. Start with one part of your process and build from there in a way that feels comfortable for you. So these are the things that I actually wasted time on that I wouldn't touch in year one now, right? And I hope that like these different moves that I'm talking about resonate and kind of help you look at what you're doing, what you're spending time on, how you're focusing if you are newer to business, and you can take from it what serves you, where I can help you kind of limit that learning curve just a bit. That is my goal here. If I would have to pick one thing that I know slowed me down, tripped me up more than anything, I would say it was the desire to people please. I said yes to clients I knew weren't the right fit because I felt like I needed the bookings and it cost me more than the commission was worth. This is probably the thing that if I could go back 10 years ago and be like, just say no, it's not worth the headache. It's not worth the $22. Like literally, you were never going to want to sell Carnival Cruises. Don't learn the product now, you know? But it was like I had that Superman syndrome of like, where there's a trip, I will build it. And listen, you're not hearing me say that doing the reps and getting in the practice and the repetition on trips that might not ultimately be your specific niche is wasted time. It is all learning. But there is something to, and you know this, that we do when we're new, that we just feel like it has to be a yes, even when it's not aligned. And so when I did say yes to those clients, what happened was I got more of those clients because people refer people just like them more often than not. And so it took my business down a road that I wasn't trying to go down. And I had to course correct later on when it was much more difficult. I knew that that wasn't the type of business I wanted to build or the type of clients I wanted to work with. And I just had to be confident enough in what I was building and why to lead my business down the road I wanted it to go. So that would be the one thing. And I think everything in this episode that I shared with you, I think it all matters. But the truth is, if I could just say it plainly, none of it matters if you don't have clients. So if you are brand new, if you are just starting out, that's the job. It's not certifications, perfecting your website, finding the best CRM. It's literally about getting in front of people who could hire you. And the rest, all the things we talked about, get built around that. But if you don't have clients, you don't have a business, and you could have the best systems in the world, the best marketing, the best workflows, all of that, and nobody's going to experience it because you don't have people to literally use that with. Whatever stage you're at, brand new, a few years in, established, the fundamentals don't change. The execution looks different, but the core is the same. Know who you serve, be where they are, build something that can hold weight, and invest in it like it's real, because it is. Thanks so much for joining me on my solo episode today. I hope this was helpful. If you have another topic new to the industry or experience that you would love to hear about from me, at least, let me know, because I'm always happy to share from the perspective of what I've learned, but also have conversations with other advisors and those in the industry that could serve us all. So feel free to hit me up at any time. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.